In the year 2023, playing the PlayStation 3 has never been better, and that is all thanks to these new updates, not from Sony, but the open source PlayStation 3 emulator, RPCS3. They've hit a huge milestone recently, and that is game compatibility is at an all-time high. We got the bottom two categories: nothing, games that don't load at all, and loadable, games that display a black screen, are at 0%. You can launch into any game you want out of the 3,401 games listed on their database. Alright, so here we are at a new build of RPCS3. I haven't hand-picked some special version to go off of to get a game to work in a particular way. This is just the new user experience, and let's see just how usable is this. So before I play a game, I think we want to go ahead and, probably look at the compatibility. Now, obviously, the whole point of this is that all of these should work to some extent, but there are actually two on here that say they get in game, but that they have some serious glitches or performance issues that happen. So we're definitely going to take a look at those. I think maybe we should start off strong first and go with Demon Souls. Now, this is going to theoretically be the best way to play the original Demon Souls. Obviously, there's a PS5 version that's out that, kind of looks and maybe plays a little bit nicer, but it is a different game nonetheless. So if we go and right click on here, we can actually go and look. Okay, I could have sworn that there was a way to open this in the emulator. I didn't see it, so whatever. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and type in Demon on here and see what exactly they are recommending for us to run these different settings. And here we are. This is what it's going to look like whenever you want to play a new game. Just go ahead and try to go into here. You get a brief little snippet about the game and info that isn't incredibly specific to the emulator. And then we start getting some actual emulator information on here. Now, I have a video on playing this at 4K 60 FPS. I don't know if the emulator at the time has regressed in any sort of way, but we should be able to get a ton out of this if we kind of follow some of this stuff, which basically just means we need to go back to the emulator and put this on our specific game. So I believe all we do is create a custom configuration, and then we can go back and forth and kind of turn on some of these settings that it's telling us to. I'm pretty sure I had skip intro on, so we'll see if this is gonna work. Oh, we can't connect to the servers. How are we gonna play the game? Oh my god. This? Okay. I will say my controller sensitivity is insane. This is me just barely touching it, and it's flickering like a madman. This is, oh, no. It's just, it almost feels mouse acceleration-y. That's so weird. Can you guys see? There's a 1 pixel thin little gray box that I didn't fix because I wanted to see how noticeable it was. It's on the top left on the HUD. I can definitely see it, but it's not a big deal at all if you didn't want to fix it, if you're having trouble. This is feeling good. I don't know if this is 30 or 60. I'm gonna be real with you, and you won't know because I'm recording at 30. So, oh god, we are fat rolling. That is not right. But we are hacking and smacking and whacking. Oh, there we go. There we go. Okay. It's a little bit of graphical glitches every time it goes to compile a shader. I feel like with tweaking, that might get a little better. But I don't know. Again, this is just jumping into it for the first time. This is how good of an experience can you have without doing too much, without knowing too much. I can ult it. It looks like I'm gonna swing at him. like a baseball bat. Oh yeah, you could definitely see the border if I do that. Yeah, there's a mod to fix that. No way. Okay, you know, I forgot how much fun this game is. Alright, I'm gonna be real. I don't remember how to do this. And I've only ever played this game for like 20 minutes one time. Oh, that's what you do. Okay, the game works. I think surface level, we did a pretty in-depth look. Like, I think we saw enough of what we needed to see in this. There's not a ton of glitches on the surface. It's enough to where if you don't know what you're doing, or rather, if you've done the basic setup for it, you can jump in and go, oh, this is fun, this is nice. Oh, here's a little like issue here. Let me go and dig deeper into it if I want to. So I would say that's good. That's like whenever I'm PC gaming, you have like your default settings, and then as you play a little bit more and you get more comfortable, you go, you know, actually I want to crank down this setting and crank this one up, and you kind of tune it to what you like. And I think that's what you could do here. So I'm gonna move on to another title. All right, so Metal Gear Solid 4 is a fantastic game. It's a beautiful game. It's a masterpiece, maybe even. And it is stuck on the PS3 probably forever. This game on the original system takes a long time to sit through and install the game and go through the beginning setup. And this is no different. I have a time marker on the bottom right here, and that right there, the 30 something you're looking at, that is not seconds. I have fast forwarded this by several thousand%. That's minutes. It took me an hour to go through this and set up the game, just like letting it compile everything in the background. This is some serious commitment if you want to get this to work. And the compatibility listing for this game is called in-game, which means games that either can't be finished, have serious glitches, or have insufficient performance. So we'll see if we hit any of those. Now, the unfortunate thing about Metal Gear Solid 4 is it's not really set up to be a good test game or even like YouTuber game or anything like that. Right now, we're staring at a black screen because there's a bunch of like fake ads and stuff that play at the beginning. And you literally just had to sit here for a few minutes while I don't know, it's doing stuff in the background, I guess. So I'll just go ahead and skip to an actual in-game, or I will show right now, it is rendering the game. It's not in-game. This is all cutscenes. They're messing around at this time with a lot of dynamic, like popping in and out of letting you have control and trying to make the cutscenes look just as good as the actual in-game footage, and kind of doing a lot of in-engine cutscenes and dynamic swapping and stuff. And it's fun. It's a really nice thing. It just doesn't really lend itself super well to being something for me to mess around with and test. It's kind of like a movie. Like, do I want to sit here and watch a movie? And this is much longer than a movie, playing through the game. So I'm gonna just kind of play it a little bit, but like kind of rushing through it, I think, is not really the style of what to do. Oh, and it did crash. It did crash. This is a crash. The game froze, or it's a freeze. The game's not working right. The PS3 doesn't do this. At least I don't think. Either way, you don't want it to happen. Now, I did end up messing with this game for maybe an hour or so. I didn't get incredibly far in it, but I did kind of move around and go through a bunch of different scenarios at the beginning. So if there's something that messes up as the game progresses, I didn't really experience that. But if you want to fully do normal things in the actual gameplay, there's pretty much two different ways that I could have approached it. I could have done a lot of things at the beginning, or done very little things overall, but rushed into a deeper section of the game, and I chose to do the first part, mostly because I was rushing, and it's a stealth game, and so I get shot, and so then I have to kind of fight back and figure things out. That's the route I ended up going with. for this. I don't know if it's the best way to do it, but that's what I did. I will say I do know that there are special builds of this game. So if you want a more pleasant experience, you may want to go ahead and try to check those out. Surface level, the game did seem very approachable though, but not perfect. It definitely had some issues. I would say general gameplay was fine, but like taking a ton of time to set up, I mean, that might just be unavoidable, but that kind of sucked. And then on top of that, having like freezes and crashes in a game where it's not saving all the time, I don't believe. And like you really don't want to get sucked out of the moment. Like this game is trying to be very immersive. Like this is not a game where you want to get bored and like want to button mash and run through the game. Like that's just, you're killing the vibe, and if you kill the vibe in the game, that's really all it has going on. Like this is not a competitive shooter. Like the gameplay is gonna really hold you in place and get you going. So if you want more, I would definitely look at those like specific builds that play this game better. But I would say overall, this is pretty okay. With Demon Souls, I would definitely play that on the emulator. With this, honestly, I would probably just play it on the PS3 so I don't have those issues. Like having the enhanced graphics and things like that are not that big of a deal to me. This is a game that I've heard a lot of great things about, but I don't have a very much personal experience with. Even though I did grow up playing a lot of games very similar to this, I will say that the intro cutscene played in full, looked great, everything went fine with that, so I'm not going to be showing that. And this game is, of course, Skate 3. So we are venturing into the depths of multi-platform games, and that's where things get really complicated really quick. I haven't done in-depth testing on this game on any other platforms that it went out on, but I've seen a lot of people play this game on the PS3 emulator, and I have to say, it is really fun, and it runs really well. I am a big fan. I actually did the tutorial, and then I just messed around trying to do a bunch of tricks and stuff. Not very well, I will say that, okay? So don't expect too much. Don't be too mean to me in the comments, okay? But it was fun. It was a lot of fun, actually. I played a lot more than I thought I would, and it was a great time. I have no complaints at all. There was no weirdness that went on whatsoever. Like this is just a good time, which is not what I would think of most multi-platform games, especially considering I grew up during Xbox 360, PS3. I remember whenever Skyrim came out on PS3, and it was so much worse than the Xbox 360 version. So I feel like if we do some more multi-plat games, we may see a different picture, but Skate 3 was really good. Now, I'm not recording the games at this, so you aren't going to be able to tell from the raw recordings, but my target performance for every single game I've been running is 4K 60 FPS, and Red Dead Redemption is not an exception to this, though it does not run anywhere near as well as the other games. This is another multi-platform game. This is games that never made it to the PC, so if I want to play it, I'm going to have to use an emulator of some sort. I mean, assuming I don't want to play on the original console, of course. So, right here, I did actually do testing on two different systems. This right here is the RPCS3 build that I'm running around on. There are some hiccups. I will say I don't think it is awful. I think you could definitely play this game. There are some graphical glitches. There are some hiccups in performance. I don't think any of them absolutely destroy the game. Some of the graphic... It's funny. The performance hitches are actually a little more smooth than the graphical glitches, in my opinion, which is kind of weird to think about. But yeah, I think the performance hits, I don't know if that's just because it was built for console. I don't think they're that jarring. Whereas... And also, this is not Titanfall 2. Like, this is, you know, I'm playing a third-person cowboy game. I'm not playing, like, some crazy FPS. So, I think the performance issues are pretty okay. And they weren't super sporadic. They weren't really awful frame-timey weirdness. Like, it was just like, oh yeah, the FPS is kind of dipping here and there. It really didn't seem like that big of a deal. Whereas the graphical glitches, like the sun popping in and out in weird ways, like that was annoying because it wasn't like trees flickering. It was like, oh, half my screen is now different because the sun is now different. And I will say the Xbox 360 emulator, which I will show footage of now, Xenia. This is Xenia Cannery is the build. I don't know. This is not a Xenia video by any means, but I do think it's important if you're looking at PS3 and we're not looking at exclusives to compare it to what else you could run. And I will say that the Xbox 360 version of this game did run it a lot better. If we did a way more bigger picture, like do a ton of multi-platform games on a bunch of other systems, if I had to guess, I would say that would be generally the picture. The PS3 was a little more complicated to develop for, so a lot of the just like base versions of the PS3 games versus Xbox 360 games, like the normal ones you'd buy a disc for, kind of run worse. And so I would assume that would translate to emulation, unless, like, even if the games were one-to-one running how they were supposed to on the PC versus on console, like, even if they perfectly emulated the console, like, there's going to be games that run better on Xenia versus RPCS3 because they just run better on those respective systems. So I definitely think that's worth thinking about, but I will say I think you could still have a good time on the PS3 one, but like, unless you just really don't want to set up another emulator, I'd probably do Red Dead on the Xenia emulator instead. They both run great, and RPCS3 has been really good. Like, a lot of the tests that I did, fantastic time. It has come such a long way. We have been spoiled. Like, this is nice. This is really nice. There's definitely some more tweaks that you can do to get your individual games running in a specific manner, but I would say surface level, there's a lot of good here. I would definitely recommend checking it out if you have not checked it out in a while. That's kind of what I do. I kind of go through waves of playing through these different emulated games. I mean, so many new games come out nowadays that, like, I'm not just constantly trying to tear through my PS3 backlog. So, you know, I think the last time I really played around with this emulator was honestly probably like 2 years ago. If it's been a while since you've done it, I highly recommend go through, boot up your Sly Cooper Thieves in Time or something, and see how it runs. I don't think you'll be disappointed, but I would be disappointed if you did not subscribe. We're all the way through the end of the video. Like, come on, you know me, I know you. Let's just go ahead and get this over with. Just hit that button, and I'll see you later.